Hello, it's Chloe Bruce, the gas journalist again. I've spoken in previous videos about how I was diagnosed with schizophrenia quite a long while back in my youth, and I have also described my first admission into a psychiatric ward and the lead up to these events. And today I'm going to try and talk without reading. I haven't prepared any notes. I'm just going to speak briefly about my second admission to hospital. This was again to Queen Mary's. The previous time I'd spent 4 to 5 weeks there. And in the last 2 weeks, my bed was taken over by a complete stranger. I just turned up and someone was in my bed. So I had to sort of mainly spend time at a relative's home for the past 2 weeks and pop into the hospital. And some of my belongings also went missing. And they never took responsibility at the hospital for this. Today I want to say about my second admission to Queen Mary's Hospital. And the reason why I was in that catchment area is because I just arrived from abroad and they put me into a catchment area near a relative. And this was wholly inappropriate because I didn't really have an association with that particular address in any sort of legal sense, I believe. So I'm not sure what made them do that. I was originally in St Thomas's Hospital, then I went to Tolworth Hospital Psychiatric Ward, and then I was admitted to Queen Mary's. And in the lead up to this event, as I said, I was abroad. I was in Vienna, and I'd had this terrible viral infection. I could barely type, but sometimes it would be a bit better, the symptoms. And I suddenly heard a kind of static form in my ears, and then a voice said, take your laptop, your passport and your bag and just leave the country immediately. And then the light bulb went off and I thought they've shut off my electricity. And I was working as a journalist at this point, and I then thought, well, I better book a flight, and so I went online, and I was in a state of abject terror, and I managed to book a flight out, but I booked 2 flights. I thought they're going to follow me onto the flight and get me on my route to the airport, so I booked a later flight, and then after that I booked the nearest flight possible. And after quite a frightening experience with taxis, I got to the airport and just sat there thinking I'm never going to get out of this country. And I boarded a plane, and I was taken very ill on that plane. No one knew how I was feeling. I just sat there, and I will come to this later, this issue of how unwell I felt on the plane in terms of my brain. But bear in mind, I was diagnosed with epilepsy a few years after my diagnosis of schizophrenia. Anyway, this was all in the build-up to being readmitted to Queen Mary's, which had changed venue, it changed building, and it was now Rose Ward, not Vine Ward, which was the psychiatric ward, and it was female only at this point. They had changed it to a separate male and female ward. I got home and I had bizarre experiences. I was on LSD. I could see sort of wormholes in the form of fuzzy felts, and I could put my finger through objects. It was just bizarre. And anyway, suddenly I had all kinds of horrible guilt feelings about not reporting sexual abuses when I should have, and I just was feeling guilty about my voices started again, and I could hear them saying, you didn't report sexual abuse, and as a result other children have come to harm, and I can't bear how I felt and how they felt. I just thought, this is terrible. And then suddenly I heard a voice say, not another day, just go and report it, please, don't leave it another day. And I didn't know what to do, so I went to various places to try and report it. I started off in the Foreign Office, and then I went to Scotland Yard, and Scotland Yard didn't want me to go into the building. They said, you can't make reports here. And then I thought, well, I better go to MI5. So I walked all the way from Whitehall to the MI5 building, and I couldn't get in there. So I knew Vauxhall was up the road, the MI6 building. So I ran up the road with blisters and had some water on me. It was a very, very hot summer's day. And I got to the MI6 headquarters, and I was let in, and I was given this business card, and I show it to you because a lot of people just assume if you've had psychosis you make everything up, and this is the business card they gave me, and I don't know what this symbol represents. I didn't put it there. I think it's a physics symbol. I thought it might mean infinity, but I think it might mean something like time-space continuum. Then I'll put it close up, and I was given this business card, and then I popped in to a sort of room. I don't want to describe it. And there were 2 people there, and I did my best to describe the issue and the medications I was on and the epilepsy, but suddenly my voices said, whatever you do, don't say anything now, just keep completely quiet. No matter what they say, don't speak. So I just sat there completely quiet, and the police came and took me away and put me into St Thomas's Hospital in Waterloo, I think. And then I was transferred. I had a horrific experience there in terms of fear. I thought they were going to give me a frontal lobe lobotomy, and I was petrified. I thought I saw a man there who'd had one, and then I was put into Tolworth Hospital, and I was there for a little bit, and I wasn't allowed out at all. And then I was put into Queen Mary's, because, as I say, in Roehampton, a relative lived there, and they made a spurious attachment to me in this area, and it's completely spurious. I have nothing to do with that area, but I do now. I've been there for a long while now in this area. So once I got into hospital, I will come to describe the details of Rose Ward in the hospital there. But I remember my voices saying, just remember, you've had a terrible time, but you are intact. You are intact. Whatever you do, despite all this sexual abuse and rape you've endured, you are intact. And the problem is this: I didn't leave hospital intact. I was there 2 months without being let out at all. And they didn't have any garden facilities or grounds. You'd think they had lovely grounds you could walk in. They didn't. They had a tiny sort of yard that you could sit in, but it was all upstairs. You can't go downstairs. It was a sort of, not a balcony, but a terrace, and it had to fit all patients. And I had a break, which I'll talk about, a break in my foot, and I'll talk about that in a subsequent video about my time there, because I didn't get any treatment for this break, and I still haven't had any treatment, and I'll show you it. I'll show you this deformed toe when I talk next about it. But I just want to say something. No one came to help me in this hospital. I tried to tell everyone how tortured I was there, and not one person came to me, and as such I left with a break that was untreated. And for all it's worth, I thought my own country's deserted me, and there was really very little point in trying to actually get through to anyone about this situation, and as a result it's gone on and on and on, and I don't know who should take responsibility for this hospital, but the hospital itself. And there is no real complaints procedure that's in place, because you don't know if you're talking to a genuine lawyer or someone with a vested interest, a staff member, and it might be the very staff member you're complaining about that you have to write to. And I'll get to this later, the whole process of trying to complain about hospital life. Thank you.